Hello, everybody. Good to be with you today. Um, so let's just settle right into a seated position, um, or standing, or lying down, or however you're meditating today. And if you are sitting, excuse me, if you're sitting, let's aim for an upright but not rigid posture. So the spine is relaxed but long. And I'm going to talk today and work with you today about allowing and staying with and supporting ourselves through difficult emotions like sadness or fear. And I think a lot of people are going through a lot of those things right now. Um, so that's why I wanted to do that today. And even though we can't be with each other in person, I want you to know that I'm sending each one of you a lot of love and a lot of hugs. And I look forward to when we can be together again in person. So for now, though, I want you to picture being at the Monona Terrace or another place or a place where you feel very safe. And maybe that's easy because you're at home and that's a good place for you. But maybe you're needing to picture a place that's more open or in nature. So I want you to just start to imagine your ideal place of safety and nurturing and comfort. And I want you to bring in all your senses. Imagine the most comforting and soothing smells. Could be essential oils or your grandma's chocolate chip cookies or whatever. Whatever are soothing smells to you. And then imagine the sounds that would be most soothing and comforting to you. Be music or birds or waves or anything. So just sit with it for a minute and just see what sounds arise in your mind. And then I want you to imagine the sense of touch, the tactile, kinesthetic sense. And a lot of people are really isolated right now and they're not getting enough hugs from people they love, or they're not seeing people enough, and it's really difficult. And so I want you to imagine whatever kind of touch you're needing right now. Maybe you're imagining holding the hand of someone or having someone's hand on your shoulder or around your shoulders, or maybe you're being held, or maybe you're imagining petting your dog or your imaginary dog, or maybe you have a soft blanket that you're imagining. But we need these sensual things. We need touch. It's just a basic human need. And with everything the way it is right now, we're not getting enough of it, most people. So imagining the most soothing touch. I know my grandmother used to rub my head and play with my hair, and that memory can bring me a lot of comfort when I'm struggling. So maybe you have something like that, or maybe you have something you can imagine like that. And if it has to do with a person, then imagine that person or animal with you. And then imagine what you're seeing around you. What are your surroundings? Make them beautiful, make them comforting and nurturing. And for many, taste can be a very soothing or nurturing thing. Certain foods. And so, if that's the case for you, you could imagine the taste of your favorite food. You can imagine yourself in this place in the most comfortable way possible. Maybe you're in a hammock, or maybe you're laying on the ground, but you're very comfortable and you're very at ease and you're very connected to the earth. And begin to imagine a root growing down from the bottom of your spine. If you're standing, you might imagine the roots growing from the bottom of your spine down through each leg and down through your feet. Either way is fine. And just imagine this root growing from your own body down into the earth. And imagining that, like a tree, when you breathe in, you're pulling up nutrients and nourishment and stability up into your root and into your body, all from the earth. And when you breathe out, any stories or energies or anything that you feel like is no longer serving you, you don't even have to cognitively necessarily think about this. You can just sort of set the intention that you're releasing what you don't need so it can be recycled back into the earth. You're breathing in what you do need, and you're breathing out what you don't need. Continuing to tune into that process of breathing up from your root, the earth energy, the groundedness, the stability, the connection, and breathing out whatever's no longer serving you so it can be recycled back into the earth. Now, I want you to try something where you remember a picture of yourself, or maybe you remember what you looked like when you were quite young, maybe one, two, or three. If you don't have any pictures from when you're little, maybe your first memory of how you looked, maybe it's at four or five or six. I want you to picture this child in front of you. And so you're in your grown-up self, grounded and rooted in the earth, stable. There's this child in front of you that is you, and you're just looking at each other. I want you to breathe in. Imagine that you can breathe in light energy from above your head, from the sun. Breathe in an image of light energy, and as you breathe it in, it starts to make your heart light up, little particles of light. So every time you breathe in, the heart is glowing brighter and brighter. And there's a sense, and even if you can't feel this, just kind of imagining what it would feel like. There's a sense of the heart expanding, getting wider, more open. And it's not really something that you need to like force open or try. It's more of like a relaxing into or a falling open. And it's kind of like leaning into the present moment so that you're not resisting anything that's here, because that will surely close the heart, when we're trying to make things different than they are. So instead of trying to make things different, just for a moment, because we all do that a lot of the time, for a moment, set that down. See if you can just imagine that energy of wanting to force change, wanting to speed things up, that feeling of things cannot possibly be right how they are right now. They must change. There's pain in that, there's suffering in that. And so just do a little experiment with me and see if just for the next few minutes, if you can just lay down the energy of struggle, just lay down the fight and just open to how it is right now, exactly how it is. So you're not resisting anything, you're not saying no, you're just opening to how it is right now. Might even imagine yourself sort of holding this thing that is the struggle, this thing that is the resistance, this thing we all do when we don't like the way things are. And just holding it in your hands, and just seeing that it's not a real thing, it's just an energy. It's it's a it's a feeling. And we can choose to surrender it. And when we do that, we open ourselves to the possibility of the present moment just as it is. Otherwise, we're just really always fighting and struggling and trying to make things different than they are. And this is very human. We all do it. I was doing it a lot earlier today and I was suffering quite a bit because of it. I was feeling sad and I wasn't wanting to feel sad. I was feeling like I have to be I have to be a certain way in order to teach meditation. But the truth of it is that that's a big old story. And I don't have to be any certain way, just like you don't have to be any certain way. And we can just come together and be exactly how we are without any pretense. And we can be vulnerable together in this way. We can be authentic. And it takes courage to step into your own vulnerability, to step into what's real right now. But I promise you it's so much easier than fighting the way things are. That's just an uphill, never-ending battle. So see if you can practice with me now and maybe if things are hard for you right now, maybe you're needing some extra comfort. And so that's why I wanted you to imagine all the comforting, nourishing things and people around you. So call on that imagery again. Maybe put your hand on your heart. And I just want you to inwardly whisper, whether you believe this or not, even if this doesn't feel true for you right now, I want you to do it anyway. I want you just to try it anyway. I want you to inwardly whisper, I love you, and then your name. So you're talking to yourself. You're tapping into, or you're trying to tap into that higher wisdom, that soul presence, that spirit, the divine one within all of us. Whatever you want to call it, however you connect to it. Some people might call it emptiness. Some people might call it love or the one or God. Doesn't matter what you call it. But it's from that place that I want you to gently just whisper to yourself, I love you. So just keep whispering that inside your own heart and mind like a mantra. And then I want you to remember that the child you is still in front of you. Picture him or her or them again. See them with eyes of compassion and understanding, knowing that being a little one is pretty hard usually. Feel pretty powerless. And you remember all the difficult times from your childhood. And I just want you to look into the eyes of this child, and I want you to say the same thing with your name. Tell the child that is you, I love you. I love you, and then your name. And say that over and over again while looking into the eyes of the child. Then I want you to repeat the words that I'm going to say. They're coming from you at the age you are now to the child. And the child can really be any age, whatever age you want, whatever age maybe you're feeling you needed more nurturing or you needed to be seen or heard or loved differently. So, just in your mind, just repeat the following: I love you. I'm so sorry for all the ways I've abandoned you over the years. I'm so sorry when you were scared or hurt or having a strong emotion that out of my own habits, out of my own habits and out of the learning I received, I didn't know how to be there for you. I didn't know how to allow all the emotions. I didn't know because I wasn't taught how to do that as a child. But I'm learning. I'm learning how to love you and all the parts of me. And I promise when you're sad or scared or triggered that I will try my very best to not shame you or judge you. I will try my very best to not shame or judge you. I will try my very best to welcome you into my heart, to imagine you and hold you and rock you and love you. Because when we're feeling scared or triggered, oftentimes it's this inner child part of us. It's an old part that was maybe hurt in a similar way, or something in the present moment is really triggering a feeling from the past. And so it feels really big and it can feel really scary. And a lot of those things are coming up for a lot of people right now because there's more stillness and there's more time for some people. And so we can use this opportunity of this collective energy, this heightened collective energy, we can use it to learn how to love ourselves. And it's a practice. You know, you hear of people talk about trying to love themselves, and there's books written on it. And the thing is it's not a switch. It's not an off or on switch. It's a practice. And so I would invite you over the next week to practice doing things and saying things to yourself that show all the insides, all the inner parts, all the younger or wounded parts, all the parts that are scared or angry or sad or anything. I would encourage you to practice. So maybe for you, that looks like in the mirror every day, looking into your own eyes and saying, I love you, or I'm really trying to love you. I want to love you, or whatever is true for you. And recognizing that it doesn't have to be perfect. There can be a kernel of truth in something. And my guess is that everybody here, everybody who's come to this meditation today, there is a part of you that loves yourself, even if you struggle with it, because meditation is about learning a different way. It's about learning self compassion. It's about learning to be with yourself in all of the messiness that is to be human. And so, even if you can't say, sure, 100% every moment of every day, I love myself, I think just by showing up here today, you're showing yourself that you do care about yourself, that at least a small part of you does love you. And so, no matter how much that part is, or how big it is, or how small it is, it's that part that we're tapping into, and it's that part that we're growing. It's that part that we're feeding. So I want you to look within now and see what you're needing most. What are you needing most? Maybe you're needing to feel like you belong. Maybe you're needing to feel loved. Whatever it is, tune into the longing, whatever the longing is, because the longing is pointing you in the direction of the soul, your soul. It's pointing you in the direction of freedom. So, whatever it is that you're longing for most, I want you to now, as a mantra, I want you to repeat it to yourself. So, maybe if you're feeling the need to belong, you can simply say over and over again, I belong, I belong. Or maybe if it's love you're needing, you might say, I love you as your mantra. Or maybe you're feeling scared a lot of the time. Your mind might be in a fear spiral. So if you can honestly step back and say, you know, in your circumstances that you're in, if you actually are safe, and it's more so your nervous system feeling like it's unsafe, but safety is what you're needing, then tell yourself, I am safe, or you are safe, depending on how you want to talk to yourself. So let's breathe together and be together in that way, each individually tuning into our own deepest longing, our own deepest desire and need right now, and then giving that to ourselves, each person collectively together in this space and time, giving ourselves what we need. Maybe you could feel the place in your body or your heart where you're needing this most. You can breathe the energy and the mantra and the kindness right into your heart space or wherever in your body you're noticing that longing or that ache or whatever it feels like to you. And then if you're still picturing your inner child with you, or inner teenager, or really any age at all along your lifetime, if you're still picturing that earlier you, maybe just asking them what they're needing from you right now. So you're not cognitively thinking, try to come up with something. It's more like you're asking this former you, and then you're just sitting back and waiting. And if the younger you tells you, then seeing if you can meet that need and give them what they're needing. Maybe it's a hug, maybe it's holding them, maybe it's holding their hand or just sitting next to them quietly. Maybe it's reassurance in the form of words. And then looking deeply into the eyes of your former self and telling them that it's going to be okay, that all the hard things that they have been through before, they've survived all those things and they've made it till now. And sometimes it's been a real rocky road, but they've made it. And the same will be true of the future you looking back on this moment now. Future you will be able to say, you got through it. And know that it's okay to ask for help. We really need each other right now. And sometimes we can call on our higher self and our soul, and we can do these visualizations and we can give ourselves what we need. And it's a very important practice that I'd invite you to do with me for the next week, where you really do practice loving yourself. You practice being kind and saying kind words, and you might even practice talking out loud to yourself. There's something very powerful about hearing from your own mouth in your own voice the words that you're longing to hear, even if it feels like you're making it up as you go along. Most of us are. Or maybe it's buying yourself flowers or taking a bath or just doing something just for the sensual pleasure of it, just for the kindness of it. So I'd invite you to practice that this week, being gentle and being kind with yourself. And I'd also invite you to reach out to people when you need them. And if you're in a position where you really can't see people in person, reaching out by phone. And if you're quite isolated, reaching out to the Monona Terrace so that we can help you find resources of people to talk to. There's many different things that are being set up for people to not feel so isolated. So please ask for help if you need it. You are each one of you worthy, you belong, and you are loved. So I'd invite you now, just as a way of coming together with our voices, I'd invite you to do one Om with me. And so we'll start by breathing out entirely, breathing in. May the fruits of our practice today spread outwards in all directions and inwards in all directions and help to end the suffering of all beings everywhere, including our own. May we each practice loving ourselves because at the root of compassion for others is self compassion. And without that, when we're judging ourselves, when we're blaming ourselves, invariably that energy will then spill outwards towards others. So if we really want to heal this planet, it's got to start with each one of us learning how to forgive ourselves, learning how to stop the shame, stop the blame, stop the dualistic thinking of right and wrong, good and bad, recognizing that we're shifting out of that paradigm into a paradigm that is not about blame. It's all about love and forgiveness and care and kindness. So, thank you to each one of you. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks for putting your energy into the collective so that we can all heal and grow and transform and use this time as a way to shift within ourselves so that we can really shift the planet, we can really shift what's happening so we can all heal. Really grateful for each one of you. Seeing some thank yous on the Q&As. You're also welcome. I'm just really grateful. If anybody has any questions, thank you, Carl. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Sandy. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Lori. Mary Beth, I'm so sorry about the loss of your dad. It's so sad. Hope we can all right now send Mary Beth some really loving energy. She just lost her dad to COVID. We're sending you so much love, Mary Beth. I hope you feel it. Clara, I'm glad it was helpful. Dawn, Karen, Aubrielle, Mary Beth, Graciela, Nina. Thanks to all of you. Thank you, Barbara. I'm glad it was helpful.